All right, welcome back. It is the JFK Assassination Audit, video number 56. It is now 10 February. So it's been about 9 days since I did my last video. I just been busy doing some other stuff, doing also some background research. And so I came across some interesting information that kind of gets us out of the timeline. But what I'm going to do, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to work on the timeline one day, one video, and then we're going to go back to this information. And this has to do with fake defectors, other defectors to the Soviet Union, Marina Oswald, and then we're also going to do a little thing about embassies to show you some stuff. We'll start off with embassies. We'll do some fake defector videos, and then we'll go over some docs. So I'll probably just switch that back and forth because this could go on for quite a while, but I found it really interesting. That's what I've been doing the last couple of days, is going over this information. It's just really incredible. But before we get into the fake defectors docs, I was just goofing around, and I just started looking. I don't know why I was drawn to this Mexico City incidents with Oswald, where he went to the Russian embassy, went to the Cuban embassy, all these kinds of things. And then I started looking on Google Maps at what he would have been looking at. So this is sort of a God's eye view of the Russian embassy in Mexico. I'm not sure if this is the same one that Oswald went to, but it kind of looks old. You see how old that gate looks? So I'm figuring it's probably the same place, okay? But we'll take a look at this, and I'm going to show you from my point of view, just a common sense point of view, some things that are probably people haven't even thought of. So we're going to look at, first we're going to look at photos, we're going to look at, Google Maps, and we're going to look at Street View. So this is like the front gate of the embassy. You can see here, this is a gate where cars go through. Doesn't look like cars go through there very much. Here's another gate here. Right here, you can see on Street View is kind of a security station. I'm not sure if that's the Mexican police or if that's the Russian embassy staff, but they got a little thing there. And I'm just going to take a look at these photos they have here. This looks like inside the residence, inside the embassy. And what we're going to do is we're primarily going to look at the Russian, the Cuban, and the Chinese embassy, even though Oslo had nothing to do with the Chinese embassy. I still want to see if the same security procedures are set up. The Russian, Cuban, and Chinese embassy in Mexico City, in Ottawa, Canada, in Washington, D.C., in London, UK, in Bonn, Germany, and then finally in Moscow. We're going to look at the American embassy there. Okay, so this is more pictures of the Russian embassy. This would have been the old Soviet Union embassy. Okay, I'm thinking that this probably even goes back to the days of the Tsar. These gates look really old, at least 100 years old. So I'm thinking that this actually goes back to the date of the Tsar, and they just kept the embassy here. Now, yeah, you can see the Mexican police, and they've got like a little, station right there. There's that front gate. Of course, they're going to have cameras all over the place. Yeah, I'm thinking this is probably goes back at least to the late 1800s. You see how old these trees are. Now, you see they would have put these trees in to block the view of the embassy here from anybody looking in from the outside. So you can see some side views there. There's a good one of the front. I'm surprised they don't have, like in America and in other countries I've seen, they have these poles that stick up along the corners here. That way no one can just, ram a car bomb into this place. And then, like the one I know about the American Embassy in Israel, they have this little thing that comes out of the ground. It covers the entire, it's like a little rectangle that comes out of the ground, and it has teeth on it. And so anybody that tries to ram the gate, they'll run into this thing and, get blown up right there, and probably filled full of lead too. But so this is more the front gate there. This looks like inside. The reason I'm going into these pictures because people have gone inside the embassy. They've taken pictures and posted them. So I wanted to see what it looked like inside because Street View is really not going to have anything from inside. So yeah, you can tell this is like 1890s, 1900s, kind of a czarist. This is a czarist type style embassy. This looks like somebody probably went there to get married. Russian citizen and a Mexican national. Yeah. So this is what Oswald, let's see. So if this was the original embassy, this is what Oswald would have seen. Okay, he would have gone to this gate here. He would have gone in. It looks like this building. He would have gone up through there, gone inside, talked to the consular. I know most embassies, everything that they do business in is like in a controlled unit, and you can't get past that. And it's just for consular services, applying for visas, extending visas, things like that. So this is where Oswald would have gone. This is probably like the main lobby there. But this is why I want to go through these pictures because it gives you kind of an insight on the inside. Now you can see this is probably a back corner of the embassy somewhere. And you see they've got all these, windows are pretty well barred up there. And that's to keep people from throwing Molotov cocktails. And, there's a strong leftist community in Mexico, and there's a strong, I wouldn't say Nazi or fascist, but right-wing community also, anti-communist, And so here's some more things going on inside the embassy. You can see how this is like from the Tsarist times here, you see? This embassy, so I'm pretty sure that this is the same embassy that was used during the Tsarist times before the revolution and the Soviet Union came about. And you see how these trees, how tall these trees are? They've strategically planted these trees. And you see how they have double layers, okay? So you got trees behind the wall and trees on the street level, okay? And they've trimmed the trees up to the top of the wall so they can just barely see over and they can see stuff going on outside here. But they've also got trees behind the wall to cover the buildings and shade what's going on, which makes sense. That's what, that's what you want to do. You want to have your own thing to do that. This is probably maybe behind this gate, that front gate that we saw. I'm not sure. Or maybe, this is the same gate. It's just painted different color now. So what they've probably done here, and they've gone through and painted a gray primer color, and they're going to repaint it or something. So you can see the little guard shack. You see the individual gate you walk through. They probably buzz through here, and then here's for cars. I bet they hardly ever use that, though, for cars. There's the Russian flag. But yeah, so that gives us a good idea. And there's a Mexican policeman. You're going to have this. Each host country will have either a specific embassy force like we have in D.C. They don't use the D.C. police all the time. The primary guards outside the walls of every embassy is the Secret Service uniformed police. I don't know how that came about, but that's how it happens there. In other countries, they use their federal police. This is probably some kind of federale. It's probably not some kind of local policeman or anything like that. Yeah, and you can kind of see inside there. Like I said, I'm just trying to get some idea of what they look like. All right, so now we're on Street View. Looks like we're to the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here and We're going to go around the embassy and come back to the front. Okay? So you can see it's a brand new office building right here. Notice how this office building goes way high above the walls. Okay? So if I was surveilling them, whether I'm the Mexican Federal Police or I'm the CIA or the FBI or whoever, if I want to surveil inside this embassy, I would encourage someone to build a building or even pay to build a building. Okay? It wouldn't take much for the CIA to put, 50 million, 25 million into a building down there and build it this high, and then have the top level their offices. And that way they've got 24-hour surveillance down into the complex of this building. And, of course, the Russians are going to know this, so they're going to try to cover it up with trees. You'll see there's a tarp over here. And they try to keep their activities inside. Okay. But the good thing about this, you can see cars coming inside. You can take license plate numbers. You can see what offices are working at night, things like that, where it's harder to see from outside here. And you can see they've got, it looks like the remnants of an old gate here. Probably not used anymore. But it looks like they've really reinforced it. See, they've got some barbed wire going on here, but that's, and then they got these old trees here. So let's go around the embassy and just see what we can see. You see they've got these windows painted up. They probably got them barred inside, maybe even blocked. There's a little satellite dish there. And now, I'm not some security professional. I'm not CIA or anything. I'm just going by common sense, what I'd be looking at if I was, if I was going to be the CIA or the FBI or the Mexican police and surveil this place. Now, I don't know if this is a Mexican policeman. It probably is. He's guarding some kind of exit door. Now, the door that the patrons, I guess you could say, would come in would be in the front to do embassy business. Now, there's going to be people that work in the embassy that are either Mexican nationals or embassy staff brought in from Russia or Soviet Union, and they're going to be exiting these doors on the side, okay, and going to lunch, coming and going, things like that. Now that looks like, there's some kind of doorway here, maybe a garage that goes up and down. It's like a little newer section that's been added on. You see, and then you got cameras everywhere. Got cameras. The main thing is embassy integrity. You want to be aware of what's going on in the street. You want to keep your embassy staff safe, and you want to record everything, okay? Because there's always some crazy somewhere that'll do something or try something, Wait, let's see. Can we see inside here? Hold on a second. So it looks like, so you can see right into here. That probably goes to nowhere. But, like I said, we're just following basic common sense security. Of course, there's more gates. Now, I don't know where the embassy ends and some other business starts. I would assume that this is more of the Russian embassy, but I don't know for sure. Now, it looks like there's another private business here. So I would say, you see this wall right here? You see how they've built it up behind here, and then the trees stop here? This is the back end of the embassy right there. That's the back end. That's as far as they go. Okay? Yeah, because you got this business here. So we're going down a little bit. Yeah, it goes in there. Beautiful. It's probably some kind of salon. Let's see. Looks like this street is going to end, or not end, but it's going to, we can get a turn here. This may be more of the embassy here. You see how that building, how it's up high like that? Like I said, for security and integrity, you're going to have your building built like this. They're built like this for a reason, and this is to, you see how the slats, they go to the right and then the left, or they go to, they start on the left and they kind of go at an angle to the right. That's to deflect. If someone parks a car bomb out here, okay, it may blow out the glass, but it's not going to destroy the integrity. And this slant here also deflects the explosion. And then you want to back it off with the fence. You see how they've got this little iron grid fence here. So yeah, this is probably more of the Russian embassy right there. And yeah, I'm just looking to see if they have surveillance across the street. But now when you're going to do surveillance on like an embassy building like this, you're going to look at places that have exits, especially with cars, and entrances, okay? So, and once you see those, then you want to look across the street and you'll be able to see some interesting things. Let's see. Now, I'm predicting there's probably some kind of gate here. Yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. So, whoever wants to do something and not be seen, they're going to do it right here. That's the far back of the embassy. Okay, and they're going to do it at night. Notice there's no, see all the cameras right there? They got cameras right there. So what you want to do is you want to look, and what is this? So this is like a private residence here. You notice how these windows are clear, and then look at the top one. You see? It's opaque. Okay, so what you can do with glass is you can paint it, or you can make it where you can see out, but because the sun's reflecting, no one can see in. You can have cameras all set up here. It can be monitored with someone sitting here in a chair, okay, and they can be watching everything. Who's coming and going, taking out license plates, things like that. You know, you notice, you see how these other buildings have trees in front of them, okay? You see how this building, no tree. I would say someone has an off, either the federales, the FBI, CIA, somebody is watching the comings and goings of the back end of the embassy here, and who's coming and going, okay? And they're doing it. I'm not giving away any secrets. I'm just going common sense. This is what I would do. If I was them, this is exactly what I would do, okay? I'd put it right there, okay? That way you're not seen. They don't know that when the lights are on there that someone's there. But, of course, the Russians aren't stupid. You know, they're just like us. They got experts. They got, you know, you got to figure there are people that are offensive, okay, in the CIA, FBI, Mexican police, whatever. And then there are people that are defensive, okay? So if the Russians know that you know, we're going to be watching them, they're going to do everything they can to block that, to check that. Unfortunately, in some instances, there's only so much you can do, okay? You can only do so much. There's a limit. See, here's another, you got another exit right here. A little smaller one. You got two little doors. This looks like it goes into a courtyard right there. So let's take a look across the street. Let's see what we see. See, there's another one. Hardly any trees. See, now somebody's put up a Ukrainian flag right there. Okay. A CIA operative, FBI guy is not going to be stupid enough to do that. Okay. So again, look up here. You see these windows in the door? Completely black. Oh, no, this one's open. Yeah, so maybe they're not watching from there. Maybe they're watching from over there. But you kind of get the idea. You want to watch all the exits. I wouldn't be surprised if there are cameras on top of the building or in these trees here. I'm just telling you common sense what I would do. Again, I'm no security expert of any kind. Of course, now you're getting closer to the front, okay? So you're going to have policemen that are going to be here. So if, say, some guy wants to ram a car bomb, say some Ukrainian national, I mean, let's not forget that, Russia invaded Chechnya, bombed the hell out of them, killed a bunch of people. So there's going to be Chechens who are refugees all around the world. And a lot of Chechens, being Sunni, were involved in ISIS. Okay? So there's going to be, ISIS, Chechen terrorists out there that are looking at Russian embassies around the world. And they're looking for vulnerable spots. Okay? You blow us up, we're going to blow you up. And that's what they're going to do. And so that's what they're, in Mexico, could be a spot. So what you're going to do, if you're to counter that for the Mexican police, because it's your job to protect your country's embassies, you're hosting foreign embassies, it's your job to protect them, okay? You can't just stand back and say, okay, terrorists, do what you want, because then they're going to do the same thing in Russia and in China, and then it's a free-for-all, okay? So this Mexican police, you see how he's 100 yards away from the front. So he's looking for any car coming this way, because some car is going to come this way and smash into the front gate. They're not going to smash into the side gate. They're going to smash, because no one's going to be there. They're going to smash into the front gate for symbolic value, okay? And hopefully they'll kill a couple people when they blow up a car bomb. You see how high these walls are now? You get in on these sides here, and they got a lot of trees, you see. Also, I mean, trees are not the best, but trees also, if you're trying to come in at an angle with a car bomb, it's harder to hit when you got trees spaced like this. That's about a car length across right there, you see. So I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just looking at this from a practical point of view, okay? And notice there's no other entrances on this side. So you're going to have a lot of business going on behind this wall, okay, in buildings. Maybe there's even a separate building. I would build a separate building behind that as an added layer of protection. You see? Now they blurred something here for some reason. See, somebody has blurred something here. So you can put in requests to Google Maps to blur out personal stuff, addresses, whatever your request is. It probably, to me, either over here behind that is some satellite dishes, or there's some kind of surveillance cameras or electronic devices that's penetrating into this embassy from here, you see, and that some security agency has, either Mexican or U.S., has requested that not be visible and be blurred out, which makes sense. I mean, that's what I would do, And then look, you got another building here. Okay, you see how all the trees have been taken out. Now there is an entrance, it looks like, for cars, but again, if you're going to be doing security, you'd be right up there. You see how this one it's been blocked right here, where the other ones are open? Well, you see, you put your cameras right up there, and your eavesdropping device. You'd have sound detection equipment that could penetrate 100 yards into an embassy and listen to everything. Okay? Again, you see they got their curtains right here. Again, I would put stuff up here. So I could be right there and listen. You see? That's what I would do. Now let's go ahead and we'll finish this up for the Russian embassy here. We'll go back to the front gate. See, there's the front gate. I'm surprised they don't have more. I would have put up more barriers. And like I know in Portland where I was at after the Oklahoma City car bombing, they put up all these posts. They put all these planters that are about 4 feet across, full of dirt, all around every federal building. Now, there's a federal building in Portland. Everybody knows it. It's where the FBI, the IRS, the ATF, the Secret Service, maybe even the CIA, every federal agency is in this building. Matter of fact, they just got through renovating it. And so after Oklahoma City, they put up these posts, these metal posts that stick up. So if a car tries to ram into it, it's just thin enough that a small truck can't get through it. So you'd have a post here and a post there and a post there like that. And then to be about waist high. And that would stop any kind of truck from ramming into the wall. So you see how they've got this wall pretty well. And I'm sure there's more stuff on the other side. They probably reinforced this with concrete, and they probably got postings there. There's the Mexican police right there. SSP, I'm not sure what that means. But anyway. So yeah, that's their little guard shack right there. And again, so you want to think about, that's the front gate. So where can you put something to watch people? Well, right here, obviously. You see right there? So I would put some guys, or you see, look, they got even little plants up here. I'd put some cameras up there, some electronic stuff, some, sound detection equipment. So, because you can sit there and say, hey, because you have to come to this and sign in with the Mexican police. They call the embassy. I'm sure they're only taking appointments because of COVID. And then they say, hey, what's your name? John Smith. Okay, do you have an appointment? Yeah. What time? 2 o'clock. Who are you supposed to see? So-and-so. Okay? So that's exactly what Oswald would have done. Okay, can I see your passport? And I'm sure that the Mexican police are keeping a log that everybody that's going in, they're turning that log over, not just to the Russians, but they're also turning it over to the Mexican police and via the CIA and the FBI. So this is the game that's played. Everybody plays this game. It's nothing new. I'm not giving away secrets here. Everybody does this, okay? We watch them. They watch us. We all watch each other. Keeps us safe. Keeps us honest, okay? And, that's just the way it's worked. Now, you see how that building right there, okay, so there's your entrance. So if you want to see people coming in that entrance, you want a clear shot, a clear view. You see how they cleared off the trees here. Where would you be? Well, you'd be right across the street, right? So when Oswald is supposedly coming to the Russian embassy, and they've got pictures and audio of Oswald, where do you think they took that from? Well, across the street, right over here. Okay, now we're across the street, right here. Now, I don't know if this building existed at that time. If you look, you can see here that some of this looks kind of new. So probably these buildings didn't exist at the time. But if I was going to be monitoring, I'd put it right there. You can get a clear view of everybody. You see how there's trees here? They probably have people here and here. And there's trees here. And then there's more trees along the way. So I would set up cameras, right up here. You see this little box, usually that's for an elevator, but you can put an EMC up there and monitor every sound coming from there. You notice how the windows are darker. You see that? That looks like an older building, like it's falling apart. So that's what I would do. I'm not saying that's what the U.S. government's doing. I'm just saying, or the Mexican police or whoever wants to watch the Russians. But, you know, it's no secret here. We watch them, they watch us. That's just the way the game works. It's just one big fucking game, okay? Now, let's see, we're almost done. Gone over a little bit of time here. You can see in on the balcony here. You can see the windows there. I'm sure they've got those painted up really good. One thing I forgot to look at, hold on one second. We'll back up a little bit. Let's see. Can I get out of this? Yeah, hold on a second. Alright, so this is like the God's Eye satellite view here, okay, of the embassy. Wow, it's a lot bigger than I thought. So not sure about this though. Hold on one second. Ah, okay. I get it. Now I know I'm confused because they've got the Russian embassy here in this new building. They may have an office there, but this is the Russian embassy complex. This is the old Russian embassy complex. So you see, they got that front gate. You see that? They got a lot of plants in here to cover up everything. This is the old Russian building here. You see how that is? And they've got all this. This is where their cars are parked. See, you can look and see how they've got this carported off. So you can park cars there and people won't know. And you got the consulate there. Maybe they come in through these doors. But yeah. So you got a good idea of what's going on there. Let's see. There's that office building over there. Yeah, so that's kind of the God's eye view there. You can kind of get a really good idea where the offices are. See, they got satellites going on there. But yeah, that's a really, really old complex. They may have even changed operations over to here in this brand new building. But yeah, that's probably from the Tsarist days, okay? I hit on Street View, and a lot of times you can get pictures from inside, but there's nothing. So you can tell no one's been allowed. Wait, actually, look, there's one. There's something right there. Yeah, there's not much. But I do find it interesting that they're building some brand new building here. Oh, it's going to be a supermarket. Okay. All right, so that's enough of that. We're going to move on to the next topic. But we're going to do one of these, embassies, like every time, every video, and just scout around, use common sense. Like I said, I'm not some CIA, FBI security professional. I'm just using common sense of what I would do. Okay? Not giving away any secrets, like I said, because they do this, we do that. They know our secrets, we know theirs. It's not like, any surprises here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go through some videos about U.S. defectors to the Soviet Union or to the East, and we're going to kind of get an idea of what their motivations are and things like that, and then we're going to get into some more specific documents. All right, let's take a look. Listen to this guy.
Не могли ли бы вы, господин Кох, вкратце рассказать, почему вы решили покинуть Соединенные Штаты?
Oh, this is in Spanish.
Maybe you will tell us why you have decided to leave the United States.
Former U.S. Catholic priest Harold Koch.
Well, that is rather difficult to answer in a few words.
На этот вопрос ответить в нескольких словах довольно трудно.
But with the increasing
It's
savagery
Russian.
and injustice of the war in Vietnam, it became gradually more and more evident that I must make an effective protest against the war.
В условиях, когда война во Вьетнаме становится все более жестокой и несправедливой, я все более и более убеждался в том, что я должен эффективным путем выразить свой протест против этой войны, говорит Гарольд Кох.
I took part in some demonstrations and protests in America, but realized I could not effectively protest the war and still expect to hold my job as a teacher or continue my studies for a doctorate.
Я принимал участие в демонстрациях и протестах в Америке, однако я понимал, что не могу энергично протестовать против этой войны и в то же время рассчитывать на то, что мне позволят продолжать работать учителем или продолжать учебу для получения степени доктора.
There is a constantly growing threat of fascism in present-day America, and everyone must do what he can to stop it. So therefore I felt that I had no other choice but to come here to the Soviet Union and speak freely and without fear of the
All right. So, as you can see, this guy's defection is a direct result of the JFK assassination, or an indirect result, or a direct result. JFK gets killed. LBJ reverses JFK's policy on Vietnam, decides to send more and more troops to Vietnam, escalates the war in Vietnam, causing all the anti-war protests. Of course, this priest, thinking that, I don't understand his thinking, but his protest is to travel to the Soviet Union, okay, and live there, because he believes that fascism is taking over in the U.S. And in a sense, he's kind of right. If you think about the people who assassinated Kennedy, they were part of the right-wing fascist element, okay, in the Democrat and the Republican Party, that thought it was better to kill the president and then to try to change things from within because they disagreed with. They thought he was too soft on communism and stuff. So here you have a backlash. Wrongly, I think, I can't see how you can be a priest and decide that communism is better because, they're throwing priests and Christians in jail in the Soviet Union. But you look at you look at it and think, well, wait a minute. Are things really? Does he really think things are that bad? That it's so fascist in the U.S. that the better alternative of the two evils is the Soviet Union? I personally don't think that, but I'm not in that person's shoes. But this gives you kind of one of the motivations of one of the defectors to Russia. All right, so we got some more here. Hold on. Oh, and I will say that the date of that one was September 1966. So that was really before a lot of the hardcore. I mean, there were anti-war protesters from the very beginning, but the real hardcore hit the mainstream was about 67, 68, especially after the Tet Offensive. Okay, here's another defector, Victor Grossman. He defected to East Germany. Okay, and he was in the Soviet Union, or so he was in the U.S. Army. He defected in 1952. Now, I saw a movie. I don't know if I can find it anymore, but it's called Comrade Joe, and it's about a couple of people who defected to North Korea. I mean, just imagine how bad things have to be for you to defect to North Korea. Most of these guys they interviewed were not very intelligent. They were in trouble or something in the military, and that was their main reason for defecting, okay? Because they were coming up on court-martial or something like that, and so they decided to defect just to get away to North Korea. A lot of them ended up staying in North Korea. One guy married, the North Koreans are kidnapping Japanese women and bringing them over for slaves, I guess. One guy ended up marrying a Japanese woman. Another guy actually became a famous movie star in North Korea. Every time they needed a bad American general or something in these North Korean movies, a lot of people don't remember that Kim Jong-un, his father, Kim Jong, or whatever his name was a big movie guy, okay? He made movies, made most of the North Korean movies that came out that the people were unfortunately forced to watch. But so this guy, this American, Joe, played, the bad guy. He was the bad American. They had to have an enemy. So that's what they did, and they made these propaganda movies. And he did that with him, and he married a Korean woman and had a family and stuff like that. And it was just very bizarre to see these guys. A lot of them end up coming back to the United States. Some of them were court-martialed, like this guy married the Japanese woman, got court-martialed, but it was like something like 30 years later or something like that. But anyway, so we're going to listen to this defector. Get to this into just a second, but I did want to say one thing. The Stasi was like the KGB for East Germany. It was all-knowing, all-powerful, run by a lot of very interesting people that actually escaped to the Soviet Union after it collapsed, after East Germany collapsed. But one thing that they found out about the Stasi is that they went through the Stasi files, okay? So a lot of these Stasi guys got on planes and just completely, or trains and fled to the Soviet Union when all this happened. Or at the same time, you've got Putin in Leipzig, East Germany, and he's running agents to come over to the West, technicians, students, things like that. So what Putin was doing in Leipzig was a big technical area for East Germany for manufacturing, electronics and things like that. So a lot of these guys would go to these trade fairs in the West, okay? And that was their cover, okay? So Putin would get people with actual covers, with actual legitimate purposes to be in the West. These professors going to learn engineering, going to schools. You had businessmen, trying to expand their business for the state electronics companies. You had students going over to West Germany. So what you had was Putin, before they went, again, there's a thing I talk about, that nobody from the Soviet Union, from Russia today, or China, or North Korea, is leaving the country, okay, without a hook. They're not getting a exit visa. It's not like the U.S. You can just come and go when you want. There are exit visas that you need to get. And in order to get that exit visa, you got to perform. Okay? And the performance usually is report back. They may, depending on the level of, complication, will depend on the level that they would train you. Okay? So again, we get this all comes back, circle back around to the JFK assassination of Marina Oswald. Marina Oswald was able to leave the Soviet Union when most others were never been able to get out of the Soviet Union. Just because she married an American GI wasn't a guarantee that she'd be allowed a visa, much less a visa to be allowed into the U.S. So again, like I said, it's a game. They're playing us with Marina, okay? They're sending her over, having to write back to Aunt KGB or her boyfriend, whatever, encoded messages to report what she sees, okay? And it's the same thing with Oswald. They're reporting on Oswald. Is he legit? Oswald's faking her out. Oswald's faking the Russians out. Oswald's doing undercover work for somebody. Okay? So that's what the game is. That's what Putin's game was. That's what he did. And the Stasi files basically showed that everyone was spying on everyone. Okay? So your boss was reporting back to the KGB or the Stasi. Your wife, your landlord, your teacher, your son's teacher, everybody had a hook from the Stasi or the KGB and reporting back to them, because if they didn't, they wouldn't get that apartment, they wouldn't get that car, they wouldn't get that promotion. It was always some kind of hook. And they've, out of a country of I think it was 15, 20 million, 18 million in East Germany, close to nearly 1 million people were reporting back to the Stasi. It was a surveillance state, not counting all the wires that were in people's homes listening, the bugging devices, all these things, their mails being read. It was a surveillance state. Okay? So this is what the guy is going into. This guy here, Victor Grossman, and he thinks that's better. So if you think about the mentality of someone like that, they're not stupid. They got to know, even if they are stupid, they got to know it's not going to be as free as the United States. So you got to be something on the American side, maybe prison, death, something that would motivate someone to go to a surveillance state such as the GDR. So here we go.
I was born as Stephen or Steve Wexler in Manhattan, 1928, and a family which was pretty leftist. I was what they call a red diaper baby. I was a radical from the start. And growing up during the Depression, it was hard for an intelligent person not to be, but I was. At Harvard, I got friendly with another leftist who came from Chicago, and towards the end of the summer, he said, you're a red, aren't you? And I said, why do you ask? He said, well, if you're a red, sign this. And he brought out a piece of paper. I looked at, what's this? For membership in the Communist Party. And I thought, my God, do we have to join? And I thought also, what could this mean for a future career if that ever comes out? If things were all...
Another thing that I know about the American Communist Party is that, again, just like the GDR, just like the KGB, okay, the FBI had infiltrated, by using hooks, okay, the Communist Party. So about the 1960s, especially the 1950s, but definitely the 1960s, there was nothing going on in the American Communist Party that the FBI and Edgar Hoover didn't know about. They had hooks everywhere, okay? They were blackmailing people. People were working undercover for the FBI. And again, like I said, how you do that is you get them on something. A marijuana charge, just something. Just even threatening to report to their employer that they're a member of the Communist Party would be enough, okay? And then once you do that, once you get the hook, because you're not just going to have somebody who's patriotic, okay? Just like I said, they got a hook on Oswald. They got the KGB had a hook on Marina. If you don't do this for us and report back to KGB, your family's not going to do very well, stuff like that. So the same thing with Oswald, okay? And what's really funny about Oswald, even though Oswald declares to be a Marxist, part of these groups and stuff, he never ever goes to any of the meetings. He never ever ever tries to join. He is not hanging around with coffee shop communists, okay? He's hanging around with rich, elite white Russians and rich people in Dallas. He's spouting crazy communist shit, but he's not hanging out with no communists. There's no communist coffee shop talk going on. It's like this guy who's in school. He met other communists there. Okay? There's a reason for that. Oswald was a soldier. He was playing a part just like Tom Cruise played Maverick or whatever. Oswald's a soldier playing a part, trying to infiltrate, okay, these communist groups out there. That's the conclusion I come to. Okay? Yeah, I mean, you can, like the saying goes, talk is cheap. You can talk shit all day. It's action. If you look at Oswald's talk that he talks, he doesn't walk the walk. Okay? He's talking communism, he's talking like he's a radical, but he's not hanging out with other communists. Other communists, especially in Dallas, there's probably, there's probably 20. He's not trying to find one of those 20, not one. Okay? And why hang out in Dallas? Why not go to New York? Why not go to Chicago? Why not go to California? But he's hanging out in Dallas for a reason. He's hanging out in New Orleans for a reason. Okay? And that's to infiltrate. He's working for these right-wing groups, working for the government or somebody he's working for. And there's another possibility. He could be working for right-wing elements inside the government who's posing as an official investigation of the government. Okay? I'm thinking, Howard Hunt, all these other guys that were doing stuff for supposedly the government, but it really wasn't the government, okay? Anyway, so I'm just making comparisons between this guy and Oswald. This guy, straight up front communist, he's going to get found out. His name's going to be on a list if he signs that paper. Matter of fact, the guy who's giving him the paper is probably an informant for the FBI. Oh, I got another one here. He's probably getting paid per person he turns in, making a bonus. Okay? That's how it worked. You're looking at 5-10 years of prison for whatever, some trumped up charge. You got to work this off. So we want you to go to campuses and recruit other people that are like you to be communists. We want you to give us their names and see how far they're willing to go. Okay? Just like the FBI would do, just like the DDR, the Stasi would do, just like the KGB. We all use the same techniques.
Already, the Cold War was already beginning, even before the Second World War had ended. So that being a leftist was already somewhat taboo. It got much, much, much worse in the years that followed.
In recognizing a communist, physical appearance counts for nothing. If he openly declares himself to be a communist, we take his word for it.
I signed up, gave him 50 cents, I was in. And that, of course, had a great effect on my whole life.
So there you go. So you don't see Oswald hanging out in coffee shops advocating communism and trying to recruit and convert people to even his version of utopian communism, utopian Marxism. I mean, think about that. The only person he's talking about it with is de Mohrenschildt. Okay? Is he playing de Mohrenschildt? Is he feeling de Mohrenschildt out? Is he trying to get a sympathetic ear so he can report back that, yeah, I think de Mohrenschildt is probably a communist or is dealing with a communist? So we're going to stop there. I'm trying to find some more video on fake defectors, but it's really hard. So we'll work on these defectors and we'll make comparisons between real defectors, okay, and fake defectors like Oswald. Okay? All right. So let's get into some docs here. All right. So I'm constantly, when I'm not doing these videos and I'm not doing other things, constantly coming across documents. There are literally probably 1 million documents or more, but I'm constantly coming across documents. I do it really systematically. I'll look up a name. I'll tell you exactly how I do it, how I find all these documents. I'll look at it. I'm usually looking at testimony for names because you can get lost reading 1 million other people's websites and stuff like that. But I'm looking for testimony, original testimony. Okay? So when I come across a name, I'll take the name, I'll Google it, and I'll put the name and then JFK assassination. That's all I'm looking for, is to narrow it down for that. Then I'll go into about 5 Google pages deep. Any PDFs, okay, I'm looking at those. Any kind of PDFs, any kind of documents, Mary Farrell documents, History Matter documents, stuff like that. Discussion pages, maybe if I can't find anything else, because you can get really lost in discussion pages. And then other people's websites, maybe if it's relevant. But I'm really looking for first-hand, unopinionated statements, documents and statements by that person. And this is why I haven't really put a video out in like 9 days. I've been reading through all this stuff, and it's just incredible. I've heard all this stuff before. It's not new to me. But when you actually read the documents, then you start thinking, what the fuck? Okay. So I did this timeline. I was going to eventually do after I go to the assassination, okay, and we get down far enough, I was going to get into, after Oswald gets shot, then I want to get into who was Oswald and what's the timeline before the assassination that got us to this point. But I had to jump ahead here because this is just the subtlety of it. When you put it all together, it's amazing, and it just goes to prove that Oswald wasn't your average everyday communist like this other guy here we just saw. Okay, so on this, the timeline begins on October 31st, 1959. Now, everything bad that happens to Oswald always happens in October. Okay, I don't know why it is with October, but that's what it is. Okay, so it says October 31st, 1959, Oswald appeared at the United States Embassy in Moscow and declared a desire to renounce his citizenship. He said, "I've made up my mind," he said. "I'm through." He told the U.S. Embassy interviewing officer, Richard Edward Snyder, that he had been a radar operator in the Marine Corps and that he had voluntarily stated to unnamed Soviet officials that as a Soviet citizen, he would make known to them such information concerning the Marine Corps and his specialty as he possessed. Now, this is the Richard Snyder, the guy that's at the front desk there that day. I believe this is on a Saturday or something like that. But anyway, let's back up a little bit and find out, how did Oswald get here? Okay, so Oswald, on the 10th, he flew, from England to Helsinki. Checked into a really nice hotel in Helsinki, but he waited 6 days, okay, before he went across the border into the Soviet Union. Why? Okay, did it take him 6 days to get his visa? Was he getting pre-briefed by his CIA, DIA, whoever intelligence handlers about what to expect, what to look for, how to act, things, what to say, things like that? Okay? So, again, he's in Helsinki longer than his visa would be good for Moscow. Why? Doesn't make any sense. His visa is going to expire in 5 days on the 21st. Anyway, he's with this woman, Intelsat or whatever it was, and she was touring him around. I'm sure she's reporting back to her handler. Like I said, nobody works in the Soviet Union that's not related to intelligence there, okay? So she's reporting back, and of course he knows this. He's been told this. So he's telling her the whole time, "Oh, this is great. I want to become a Soviet citizen, and I want to defect to the Soviet Union." She can't believe this, so she's reporting back to her handlers, okay? Now, we're going to go across all these fake defectors in the Soviet Union all right around the same time. And so these people in the KGB, they're not stupid. We play them, they play us. We play games, they play games. They're not stupid. Like I said, they got that embassy wall there. You're going to have somebody across the street. You got that embassy gate. They're going to be watching it with cameras. They're going to be doing the same thing to us in Moscow. So we play them, they play us. So they're not stupid. They realize that, there's no reason for this guy wanting to defect. He's like 20-something years old, 21 years old. He says he's a Marine. this guy is probably a fake defector like these other 3 or 4 or 5, 10 guys have been coming over in the last year or two. They smelled something was rotten in Denmark or in Moscow, okay? KGB, they're not stupid. So what you do, especially in the KGB, is you don't want to make a mistake. So you don't want to try to play this guy and switch him because he could be very, very well trained. You don't know who you're dealing with. So they just decide, we're not going to play. You know, they kind of put up their hands and say, dodgeball time's over. We're not playing this game. We know what you guys are doing, and this is another guy, and we're just not going to play this game. Get the fuck out, okay? So what has Oswald got? What does he have that can change their mind? Nothing, okay? Nothing. At least they think. Okay, so it says on October 21st, 1959, the day his visa was due to expire, he was told that his citizenship application had been refused and that he had to leave the Soviet Union that evening. Distraught, Oswald inflicted a minor but bloody wound to his left wrist in his hotel room bathroom soon before his in-tourist guide was due to arrive to escort him from the country, according to his diary, because he wished to kill himself in a way that would shock her. Now think about that. There's a couple of things there. He leaves a minor wound, but he's distraught and wants to kill himself, but he leaves a minor wound. Okay, it's like, you know, it's like these... I had a girlfriend once that just wanted attention all the time, my attention all the time, and I wanted to break up with her. And so she would play these games, and one time I saw her have a bottle of something, and she put it up to her mouth and then drank a bunch of water. And then I looked, and I'm like, well, that probably would kill somebody if you took the whole fucking bottle. But she had actually gone before and emptied the bottle, okay, someplace else, and pretended like she took the pills. So I'm panicking, calling the doctor to get her, stomach pumped out, stuff like that. About to call 911, and she realizes, oh shit, this is real. He's going to call the police. So maybe he does care about me. And so then she confessed and said, no, I didn't take any pills. I was just trying to see if you cared about me. This is what Oswald's doing, okay? He's faking suicide, okay, because the KGB's already thrown up their hands and blocked him and said, hey, no, we're not playing your game. Fuck you. Go back to America. We're not playing this game no more. So he broke through their rules, okay, and played them at their game where they'd have no choice, because the last thing that the KGB and the Soviet Union wanted was a news headline the next day of a dead, defecting Marine, U.S. Marine, in a Moscow hotel bathroom with pictures of blood and gore and all that. That's the last thing they wanted, okay? So Oswald, I'm not sure if he was told this to do this, if the Soviets refuse you, do this, or he thought of this on his own. But it worked, okay? It worked. And it delayed his departure because of his self-inflicted injury. The Soviets kept him in Moscow hospital under psychiatric observation for a week until the 28th, okay? And his in-tourist girl is coming to visit him. You know, she's concerned, but she's also reporting back to her boss that, yeah, he seems to be doing better. Okay. Again, they're going to try to kick him out. So what does he do? As soon as he's able to get out of the hospital, he goes to the U.S. Embassy, which he knows the U.S. Embassy, the service area, is wired for sound. And there's also Russian citizens working in the service area. They're going to report back. Even though they've had background checks for the CIA, they're going to report back. They just can't get away from it. Okay. So he goes there, and he meets with Richard Snyder, who's managing the front desk that day. He says, I've made up my mind. I'm through. He told the U.S. Embassy officer, Richard Snyder, that he had been a radar operator in the Marine Corps and that he had been voluntarily stated to unnamed Soviet officials that as a Soviet citizen, he would make known to them such information concerning the Marine Corps and his specialty as possessed. Now, you know, you can give away classified information in the U.S. or in Finland or in the U.K. or Germany or Switzerland, where he's going to go to that Albert Schweitzer College. You don't have to go all the way to the Soviet Union to give away your radar secrets, which they probably know already. Okay? So this is another reason why they chose Oswald, because he's not really going to be giving that much away to the Soviets that they don't already know. But they don't know. They're playing that the Soviets are thinking Oswald doesn't know that they already know what he knows. And therefore it makes it more sincere to Oswald that he's going to defect, okay? And so, again, you have to come to the question, why, okay, there's either 2 or 3 things going on here, okay? Either Oswald's crazy and thinks, despite all the news and the reality and everything about life in the Soviet Union and how it's a military dictatorship, that it somehow could be better than living in where he's living, okay? And he was living in the Marines, but he got out of the Marines early, and it has to be better than living in Texas or New Orleans. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Texas and New Orleans, but given the lesser of the two weevils, I guess you could say how the expression goes, and I was given, Dallas, Texas, or Soviet Russia, I'd probably go to Dallas, Texas, even though I don't even like Texas. I don't like Dallas, okay? So that's his choices, and that's the choice he makes, okay? So he's either crazy, okay, or he's on some kind of, he's a real hardcore communist, wants to make it to the motherland, but you got to think, why, if he's a hardcore communist, and he's been a communist, he said, since he was 13, why would a hardcore communist go in the fucking Marine Corps? In the U.S. imperialistic Marine Corps, okay? The fighting force of the capitalist, domineering oppressors. Well, why would a communist go in the Marines? Think about it. Doesn't make much sense. Okay? So he went from hardcore going in the Marines to now you flipped and you're a communist and you're going to go to the Soviet Union. That doesn't make any sense. The only other option is that Oswald is a patriot. He may have some left-leaning ideas. He may toy around with Russian. And it could go 2 ways on this. He's either been hooked by military intelligence that, hey, you kept screwing up there, but this is a way to get out of going to the brig, to get out of these charges that are being put down on you for insubordination and fighting and stuff like that. They could have made all this shit up too. But Oswald, this is a way to redeem yourself in the eyes of your country. We want you to go on a mission to the Soviet Union, fake defection. We're going to give you information. You want to feed this to whoever debriefs you in the KGB over there, okay? And we want to supply them with information. They might not even tell him it's fake information. They just, matter of fact, it's best you don't tell them that it's fake information, okay? You want Oswald to believe that whatever he's giving, he's being tortured, he's being, spotlights, sodium pentothal. You want him to believe that what he's giving them is real, okay? So that's what they're doing. Or he could just be this hardcore, just like his brother Robert and Pick, hardcore patriot that, yeah, I'll go. Yeah, fuck it. I'll learn Russian. I'll play the communists. Yeah, I'll even do it in front of the other Marines. It's serving my country. Just like I'll pass out flyers later on in New Orleans and get arrested, I'm serving my country. Okay? So there's 3 options, like I said. We're going to go over again. He's either crazy and doesn't realize what he's doing, or he's a real hardcore communist, but again, why would a hardcore communist go in the Marines? Or he's a patriot, a hardcore right-wing patriot willing to do what it takes to serve his country, or he's being coerced, still a patriot, but slightly being coerced into going into as a fake defector. Anyway, so we're going to go into Richard Snyder, and he's the embassy personnel there. We're going to go over what he says on his documents for almost about 5 minutes here. Hold on one second. So I always like to see who I'm talking about. So Richard Snyder, U.S. Department of State official, best known for his role as senior Moscow consular official handling Lee Harvey Oswald's attempt to defection to the Soviet Union in 1959 and return to the U.S. in 1961. So I'll put it to you this way. Anybody in that U.S. embassy in Moscow, probably 99% of them are all CIA or State Department. State Department, a lot of people don't know this, has their own intelligence service too. Okay? So they're going to report back, even just your clerk typist, lady that's been brought over from the U.S., if she gets approached by police or somebody in intelligence in Moscow, she's going to report that back, okay? Yeah, I got approached by these two men outside my apartment saying they work for the Moscow police and they wanted me to, get this file or plant this device or whatever, and they threatened to arrest me, whatever. I'm sure they'll have some kind of hook to get her. So Richard Snyder is not just some lowly little Department of State official, okay? He's going to have some kind of intelligence training. They're all going to go over the Moscow rules, okay? Matter of fact, I'll go over that next time. There's certain rules that they've learned as intelligence, how to handle yourself in Russia and not get caught or not get burnt, okay, or not get used. And I'm sure they went over the Moscow rules with Oswald, okay? So, again, you got to think about Oswald, how smart. Again, if Oswald, I'll finish up with this statement. If Oswald is just this lunatic communist revolutionary, okay, he's got to be the smartest fucking communist lunatic revolutionary in the history of communist lunatic revolutionaries. Okay? I mean, think about it. I don't even think that they would tell him or they would train him for that in the CIA training or manual or Defense Intelligence Agency manual. Hey, if the Soviets refuse your stay on your visa, fake committing suicide in a bloody bathtub to freak them out so they'll change their mind and let you stay. That's called initiative. Okay? That's using, there's certain things that are learned skills and there's certain things that are instinctive skills. That's an instinctive skill right there. Okay? That's something that you do on the fly because you've got a mission and you're dedicated. Not because you're crazy. If you're crazy, you would have fucking killed yourself. If you got a mission to complete, you would make it look like you try to kill yourself, but make sure the wound is light enough that you don't kill yourself so you can complete your mission. That's someone taking the initiative, a soldier taking the initiative on the battlefield to complete his mission and get past the obstacle, whether it's a machine gun fire or whether it's some fucking clerk who won't give you a visa. That's a soldier taking initiative right there. Another, maybe he was trained to do this, maybe he was told to do this, maybe he thought of this on his own. He knows that the embassy in Moscow, at least the consular area, is wired for sound. They got Russian secretaries in there typing away and listening. I'm sure they've snuck in devices all over the place. Okay? So he knows that embassy's wired for sound. So if they're just going to give him, a 3-month visa, a 30-day visa, whatever, and then eventually he'll get tired and go away, now he's gone to the next level. He's gone in and told him his mission. This is what someone's trained him to do, and this is what he's telling them. He's telling the Russians without telling them, this is what I'm here for. I'm here to give up secrets. I'm here to help and become a citizen of the Soviet Union. Of course, it's like this. If you're, I saw this, Lethal Weapon 2, okay? And there's a point where the black guy, I can't remember his name, but remember they're chasing these South Africans, okay? This is back in the day of apartheid, back in the late 80s. So the black guy, he goes into the South African embassy and says, "Yeah, I wanna immigrate to South Africa." And they're like, "No, you can't. It's a white controlled country, and the blacks don't have any rights, and we don't want more blacks coming to South Africa." "Oh yeah, but it's mostly black people there, right?" "Yeah, but they're under control, and we're trying to kick them out." So the guy at the embassy couldn't believe that this guy wanted to defect to South Africa, because even he knew how bad it was for the blacks there, okay? The white guy knew how bad it was for the blacks. It's the same thing with the Soviets. They're not stupid. They know if they're not the ones in power and they're at the bottom rung, which is where Oswald would have been, how bad it would have been for him, okay? It's not great. The U.S. may not be great, but it's a hell of a lot better than what he would end up then. So they're thinking, what the fuck? Why does this guy want to give up all his freedom in the U.S. and come to the Soviet Union? I mean, come on. Even some lowly bureaucrat's going to think this is a dumb idea. And so they're going to think that, hey, this guy has been sent here, just like the other 10 guys we're going to go over, okay? But, hey, maybe he's sincere. Because we hear, in our Interior Department section, they've got they've got audio recording of this guy saying that he wants to give up his citizenship, want to give all his information that he learned in the Marines to the Soviet Union. So maybe he is sincere. So, okay, look, we'll give him a visa, we'll fill him out, see if we can use him, watch him, all this stuff. And that's exactly what they do. They put him in a nice department, they wire it for sound, they listen, and Oswald doesn't do anything. So why is Oswald there? I've read KGB reports of Oswald in Moscow, okay, and he had a gun. They gave, I don't know why they would have given a foreigner a gun, but he had a shotgun. You go shooting, and they would be so close to him in the woods, in the bushes, and Oswald was such a bad shot, they were afraid that he was going to accidentally shoot them. Okay? So that's what we're going to get into. Matter of fact, I might put the Oswald files, the KGB Oswald files at the end of this. That might be a good thing too. All right, we're going to get this. Mostly now, after we get through Snyder, we're going to go to these fake defectors. And I'm going to show you how Oswald is not a nut. Well, I can't say definitely, and that's the thing. There's nothing guaranteed being 100% on anything. Okay? I mean, I'll prove it to you. Do you know 100% that your wife or your girlfriend absolutely loves you and doesn't have something on the side? You can hope. You can go by what she said, but you don't know 100%. You're not God. And it's the same thing in intelligence. All you can do is just guess. Okay? They're taking a guess that Oswald may be sincere, but they don't know. That's why they keep him under surveillance. Okay? And the guys who sent Oswald, they don't know that Oswald's going to be able to get in and be accepted. But you throw enough fake defectors just like fucking spaghetti at the wall and something's going to stick. Okay? Something. Okay? And then you throw it in that it's incidental, like, oh, well, he's just like talking to shit while we were debriefing him. He's even saying stuff at the U.S. Embassy that we're hearing from other sources. Okay? So, again, I don't know 100% sure, guarantee that Oswald was a fake defector working for the military. I don't know that. He could have been crazy. He could have been sincere, soon to become disillusioned Marxist, communist. There's always that possibility. But right now, on those 3 scenarios, whether he's crazy, I'd give that about, out of 100%, 10%. Okay? Out of Oswald is a sincere Marxist, 15, 20%. And then out of the rest, I'd say about 75, 80% sure that Oswald was a fake defector. Again, there's percentages, you know. When you play cards, I don't know the percentages on cards, but you're not always going to get that royal flush. Okay? Anyway, got way over my time, so I'm going to stop here and we'll just continue what we're doing and keep going down this road. All right, take care.